Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The Israeli military's intelligence chief has resigned, saying he took responsibility for the failures before Hamas's attack on Israel on the 7th of October.
As for your question, Hezbollah...
The Israel Defense Forces said Major General Aharon Haliva would retire once his successor was selected. In a letter, he acknowledged that his intelligence directorate did not live up to the task we were entrusted with. He is the first senior figure to step down over the attacks, which were the deadliest in Israel's history. Israeli military and intelligence officials missed or ignored multiple warnings before hundreds of Hamas gunmen breached the Gaza border fence that day and attacked nearby Israeli communities, military bases and a music festival. About 1,200 Israelis and foreigners, mostly civilians, were killed, and 253 others were taken back to Gaza as hostages, according to Israeli tallies. Meanwhile, Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to reject any sanctions on the country's military after reports that the US plans to cut aid to one unit. Earlier, the Axios news site said the US would target Israel's Netzer Yehuda battalion over alleged human rights violations in the occupied West Bank. Any move would come under a US ban on aid to foreign units credibly implicated in violations. Washington, Israel's main ally, has never suspended aid to an IDF unit before. India's opposition has accused Prime Minister Narendra Modi of Islamophobic remarks after he claimed his opponents would distribute people's wealth to infiltrators if they won power. Mr. Modi told a rally the opposition Congress wanted to distribute wealth to those who have many children. His remarks were widely seen as referring to India's Muslim minority. The Congress party has rejected the claim, which came days after the general election began. Mr. Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party government has often been accused of singling out India's minority communities, especially Muslims. Authorities have evacuated nearly 60,000 people from their homes in Guangdong as days of heavy rain caused massive flooding in China's most populous province. 3 people have died so far, while 11 have gone missing, according to state media. Footage on state media and online show large swathes of land inundated by the floods and rescuers ferrying people on lifeboats in waist-deep water. Several major rivers have burst their banks, and authorities are closely monitoring what they call dangerously high water levels. A winner of the French series of The Voice is in serious condition after being shot. Authorities say Keji Girak's life is no longer considered to be in danger. Police were called at about 5:30 in the morning local time, around 50 kilometers from Bordeaux. French media reported that in initial talks with investigators, he linked the incident to his own mishandling of the firearm. Mr. Girak grew up in the Catalan gypsy community and won The Voice French edition in 2014. Tesla has cut prices for its electric vehicles by over 4% across major markets, including the US, China and Germany, days after CEO Elon Musk laid off 10% of its global workforce. In China, the starting price for the new Model 3 was cut by $1,930 to $32,000, and the Model 3 rear-wheel drive was slashed by about €2,000 to €42,990 in Germany. This all comes after Tesla's stock dropped below $150 per share on Friday, wiping out the company's gains over the past year. In recent years, the electric car giant has seen falling sales over increased competition in the sector. And thousands of people have been protesting in Tenerife, calling for the Spanish island to temporarily limit tourism to stem rising housing and living costs for locals. Holding placards reading, "People live here and we don't want to see our island die," demonstrators said changes must be made to the tourism industry that accounts for 35% of GDP in the Canary Islands archipelago. Smaller marches were held elsewhere in the island group and other Spanish cities, all of them organised by about 24 environmental organisations ahead of the peak summer holiday season. The organisations say local authorities should temporarily limit visitor numbers to alleviate pressure on the island's environment, infrastructure and housing stock, and put curbs on property purchases by foreigners. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.